Today's episode of Beyond the Mask is presented by the team at CRNA Financial Planning. Get a free consultation today to be guided through the complexities of investing and financial planning. Just visit crnafinancialplanning.com. Beyond the Mask is also sponsored by crnaeducation.com. CRNAs, you can get the CE credits you need by just going to crnaeducation.com. They have over 100 AANA prior approved credits, all 4 core CPC modules, and even over 40 pharmacology credits. No subscriptions, it's all online and mobile friendly. Just go to crnaeducation.com. And don't forget, listening to our podcast can earn you Class B credits. For more information on how you can submit them, check out our CE credit tab on our website, beyondthemaskpodcast.com. Welcome to Beyond the Mask, innovation and opportunities for CRNAs and advanced practice nurses, with certified financial planner Jeremy Stanley and CRNA Sharon Pierce. Jeremy Stanley has worked with CRNAs for more than 23 years, and Sharon Pierce is a former president of the AANA and the NCANA. Join us as we leave the operating room and learn the latest in the CRNA and advanced practice nurse industries. Beyond the Mask starts in 10, 9, 8,
7. Hello, Sharon. How are you?
Doing good. How are you doing?
Good. Welcome to Pennsylvania.
Yes, at the Hotel Hershey.
Yeah,
I've eaten so much chocolate.
and we're at the Pennsylvania Association of Nurse Anesthetists, or do we say anesthesiologists now? Is it still anesthetists? Or?
You can say whatever you would like.
I know the debate is still raging out there.
Yes,
so.
it is. Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
So we got another great episode lined up today.
And you know I'm looking forward to this.
I know you
this
are.
This is my jam.
It is your jam. Well, since it's your jam, would you like to introduce our guest?
Absolutely. I would like to introduce Matt McCullough. Matt he's going to tell a little bit more about himself in just a few minutes, but the thing that makes it my jam is he ran for office. So there's probably there's less than 10 CRNAs in the whole country that have run for office. And unfortunately, Matt and I do share one thing, that we were both unsuccessful in our bids. But I playfully say to this one doc I work with sometime, I was a loser. And he tells me, no, ma'am, you are not. You are a learner.
Oh, I like that.
Because you've learned from this.
Yeah.
And so anyway, not to take away any of your thunder, Matt, why don't you tell our listeners who you are, and we'll go from there.
All right. So I'm Matt McCullough. I'm from Bucks County, Newtown specifically. I've been a certified registered nurse anesthetist since 2002. That's a long time ago. I would be the youngest person in the room, and now I'm oftentimes the oldest person in the room.
Gosh, and we say 2002 a long time ago. Isn't that funny? Because, I remember 2002 like it was,
yesterday.
Last year,
Well, it was right after the Y2K scare.
Yeah,
that was a whole,
absolutely.
And now it's AI. Right?
There you go.
You know what?
The world's always going to end,
I didn't even think about
it's a
it.
recurring theme.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Whatever the news media can spin for us.
But that's a perfect reason to run for office, right? Because everybody's telling you the world's going to end or this is going to go wrong. And, who better than somebody with a healthcare background, with a nursing background, who's, we're traditionally very compassionate people. We're traditionally seen as the most trusted profession. Who better than people with that experience, with that life experience, than to go out to Harrisburg and fix some of the wrongs that are happening in the state.
Exactly.
Right. So where did you go to school?
Nazareth Hospital.
School
of Nurse Anesthesiology, unfortunately no longer open.
How many programs does Pennsylvania have now?
I think they're still up there around 10.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't quote me on the number, but it's I believe the number one state for producing nurse anesthetists, is it not?
I do believe that's
Is it still the
case.
largest state, or is Texas
it
bigger
vacillates. The 4 largest states are usually Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Texas, Florida.
Yeah.
And they kind of jockey back and forth, but with the numbers of CRNAs they have.
So, Matt, you're from Pennsylvania, right?
I am.
Yeah. You ran for office here, so we're interested in learning a little bit more about that. And so why don't we just kind of talk a little bit about, that 2022 Senate campaign and what happened and why it happened?
So it obviously started before 2022. I have to go back to October of 2021, Halloween, sitting around the table. My daughter was out trick-or-treating with her friends, as we do every year. And the usual parent banter, this is going wrong, that's going wrong. The people that we have in office haven't done anything to fix it. Start throwing ideas out there, and then the idea came up, hey, you do it. You fix it. Which, I've always been paying attention to politics and what's going on in the world, obviously, but I was never, I would go and vote, but I was never a committee person. I never joined party leadership. I was just engaged in what was going on in my community. And I said, yeah, you know what? I will. Which seems like a simple concept, right? And it's one of the things I want to talk about. And I'm sure one of the things that you've spoken about multiple times is how do you go from, I'll be the person to do it.
To be.
How do I get there? And then flash forward a bit, and I found myself oftentimes after the primary, after having been endorsed unanimously from the local party, unopposed in the primary, so obviously moving on to the general election, I'm like, they really let me get here. I kept waiting for somebody to knock on the door, call me up and say, wait a second, we have to slow down.
Yeah.
What qualifies you to do this? And what qualified me ultimately was just being willing to be the person to stand up and say, these are my ideas, this is what I think is wrong, and this is how I would go about solving for it.
So who was at this table? I want to know.
I think if I said their names, they'd get upset with me.
Okay.
So it was friends.
I mean, friends.
Yes.
Okay. And
gotcha.
My poor wife, I think the next day when
spouse.
I said, yes, I will, I don't think she believed me at first. And it wasn't until about a month and a half later. Fortunately, I knew Jess Poole, our GRC for PANA. She's one of the first people I reached out to. And I said, I think I want to run for state level office. Has anyone ever done that before here? And, where do I start? And so she was great with the introduction. She brought me out to Harrisburg. There happened to be a fundraiser that some of our Senate leadership in Pennsylvania was going to be at. And I got to meet some people out there, get some ideas, and get some contacts for how to really get a campaign started and off the ground.
Okay. Wow.
Well, you guys do have a lot in common, huh?
Yes.
Campaign started and off the ground, didn't know how to do it. And
Yes.
Yeah,
And
a lot of similarities.
I agree with you 100% with what the surgeon said to you. You're not a loser. I only look at not winning the election as an opportunity to have learned so much
You're not
from
kidding.
that process from last year. And it's only a loss if I don't take everything that I learned last year and apply it to the future, whether it's for a run for myself for another seat that becomes available. Currently, my wife's running for office this year.
No way.
So,
what's she running for?
Township supervisor in Newtown. And she is, it's interesting. I don't know, this may be the thing I ask you to cut out later, but one of the first meetings we had with party leadership, they addressed her and said, get ready, it's going to be a tough year, you're going to have to hold down the fort. And I thought, well, she's so much more than that. I mean, she works for a Fortune 500 company in New York. She leads teams, multi-million-dollar budget. She's way more than holding down the fort.
Right.
And through my campaign, people got to meet her and see what kind of person she was. And I had said all along, she's definitely the better candidate. She's definitely the better candidate. And now people are going to get to see that this year.
Wow.
So I'm really excited about that, and I'm spending my time working on her campaign.
Oh, that's awesome.
With all that you've learned. Well, interestingly enough, I think my husband would be a better candidate than I am. I mean, Pierce.
He can relate to people for sure.
Oh my God! Yeah. Everybody knows him. So you kind of touched on for just a few minutes whenever we first started talking about why nurses are the perfect.
I did.
The perfect candidates. Were we taping then? Whatever. So why don't you?
I don't know, but we'll rehash it anyway. So I'm 48 now, 49, sorry, and I've been in healthcare since I was 15 years old. From the time I was a teenager, I was a nursing assistant and then a nurse and then worked as a nurse and then anesthesia. And so it's the vast majority of my life I've been taking care of people. It comes very naturally to me and to anyone in nursing. I mean, it's just part of who you are. We're problem solvers, if not through nursing, definitely through our anesthesia training. That is what we do. We identify problems, we come up with solutions, so we implement them, and we reevaluate the effect of what we did.
Nursing process.
Exactly. ADPI, right? Is that the old acronym? ADPI? Assess, diagnose, plan, implement, evaluate.
Lord have mercy.
Wow. He just rattled that
You think
off.
you've been out a long time. I've been out a lot longer than that. So.
And as far as getting into those seats in public perception, nurses, and this is what I spoke about earlier, I think it's 22 years in a row now, the number one most trustworthy profession.
Right.
And when you consider at whatever level you're at, I mean, almost 20% of our GDP is spent on healthcare.
Right.
I have, because I'm an interested person, watched multiple healthcare forums where the legislators are hearing testimony on bills that are put before them, and they have no experience. There's the rare exception. I think Pennsylvania has one nurse in the state house and one nurse who's also a lawyer, so I'm not sure if that still counts. That's one of the state senators. So there's not a real breadth of medical knowledge there.
Right.
And so much of what comes before them, and for the CRNA perspective, practice-related issues, they're really not in the best place to be able to make an informed decision.
Mm-hmm. And nursing touches everything.
It does.
All the social determinants of health. And so that makes us even more perfect for... And I'll give you some background of why this is. Whenever I went to Yale and we designed the campaign school for nurses, the dean had a council of people who basically helped raise money for Yale School of Nursing. And she wanted us to present. And one of the men basically attacked us and said, just what do nurses know about policy? What do nurses know about transportation? What do nurses know about foreign policy? And I disagree that they are the perfect people to do this. And so we kind of went head to head just a little bit. And I just said, do you currently believe that representation out there is reflective of the American public?
I agree.
So it was kind of interesting.
Well, and it is interesting, when you start talking about GDP, and I talk about this all the time, healthcare being 20% of GDP, all of these issues that are here now at some point are really going to have to be dealt with. And if you're, what do you always say? If you're not on the table, you're on the menu. Yeah. And that's very true, because we can follow the healthcare dollars and know that one day our government's going to have to deal with this bloated balance sheet that we have, and healthcare is going to be the largest percentage of that, along with other entitlements, and it's going to have to be dealt with in such a way. And if we don't have representation from nurses, as we've seen over the last year or two during COVID, trying to cap nurses' pay, you're going to have more of these types of issues where we're kind of out of touch with what's really going on, because they truly just don't understand it. And we need people like you two running for office. So, get back up on the horse and get going.
Hey CRNAs, it's time to simplify your continuing education. Welcome to CRNAeducation.com, your trusted provider for CPC core modules and a plethora of Class A CE credits. You can explore 43 detailed articles covering various anesthesia topics, all from your favorite device, anytime, anywhere. And with over 40 pharmacology CE credits, meet your state board requirements effortlessly. Whether you need a few credits or everything to recertify, we have what you need. Just complete your credits online without any subscriptions or recurring charges. You can trust in our 100% CRNA-owned platform, established in 2011, ensuring you receive the best in customer service and educational content. Ready to learn? Go to CRNAeducation.com. Making continuing education easy and accessible. And don't forget that support is always a quick email or a text or phone call away. To sign up and learn more, just go to CRNAeducation.com.
So let's step it back just a little bit and let's talk to CRNAs out there who might be contemplating running for office. So let's talk about the steps that they would need to take or should take.
Okay, something I'm becoming very passionate about lately. Obviously, as I've stated, we need more, and not just CRNAs, nurses, but we'll speak specifically to CRNAs. I guess what I did is a great first step. Reach out to your state association. Everyone's got a government relations chair or some similar title. someone who has an inroads already in the Capitol.
Right.
Oftentimes has worked with some of the lobbyists that are out there and some of the key opinion people that you might want to get in front of. But even so, for me, I kind of skipped over a couple of steps when I started that process, when really I should have started more from the grassroots level and reached out to my local township party leadership, introduced myself, said I would like to do this, then gone up to the county level, and then ultimately you wind up in Harrisburg, as Pennsylvania as an example, talking to party leadership there.
Right.
So you can start local. And before you even do that, and I think certainly I would do this differently, is I would have gotten, I think, involved more locally because it wasn't as political as I thought. And in retrospect, I did get involved. It's just that I was serving on the finance committee of my township. I just didn't consider it a political position.
Right.
I just considered a community service. It's, it was an unpaid thing. I thought, hey, we have to have people in the community that know how to read a budget and make recommendations. And then ultimately, after doing that for a year, I didn't find it terribly rewarding. So I said, zoning hearing board sounds cool.
Oh my goodness! Now that's a hotbed.
And it is, and I still serve on the zoning hearing board. It's a 5-year term, and it's been very rewarding because it's really about having a role in shaping what your community looks like, not just now but into the future. And so, that's been a very rewarding thing. So things like that are a great place to start. And for where I live, there's about a 30% vacancy on those voluntary positions.
Wow.
So we really need people from the community, regardless of background, to get involved anyway. But if you're a nurse or a nurse anesthetist, that's a great spot to start. And then you can meet the local party leadership, and they can get to know you a little bit. And when those positions come up or those seats come up, and they're looking for candidates, you're kind of right there front of mind.
So he does bring up a great point. If you're involved in your party now, if you're listening and you're saying, I am an independent or unaffiliated, unfortunately, it's hard to get on a ballot. It's hard to get elected. So you're going to have to declare one side or another pretty much. But getting involved with your party, I moved about 5 years ago. I went to 2 women's meetings of the Republican women. I'm now their treasurer. I know, don't
That's
look at
dangerous.
me like I know it is.
Oh my
I know.
gosh.
But I had an accountant help me to begin with whenever, because they were still filing all of their reports by hand. They were not digitized.
Wow.
No
Yeah.
QuickBooks.
Wow.
So no, but they have them now. But now I'm known in my local party. And that's helpful.
Well, that's a good point. Matt, you said one of the things that you would have done different is probably started at the local level. And is there, as you look back now, are there things that you look at and go, man, I should have done that differently. I should have done this way, or things that you've learned from that if and when the opportunity shows itself again, that you would do differently this time?
I probably would have made the decision to enter the race a lot sooner.
Absolutely.
You can never have enough time to get to know people. When you run, they sit down and they say this race is about 2 things, doors and dollars. You have to knock on doors to talk to voters, and you have to raise dollars. It's common sense, right?
Common sense, yeah.
But you don't realize how difficult it is to accomplish until you start doing it. And so I would have maybe started in 2020. Not raising dollars necessarily, but getting out and talking more to people in the community. And one of the more anxiety-inducing things to do when you first get started, but probably the most rewarding thing once you're done. Because there are people now, and my wife and I joke that our social circle is so much bigger now, and we always have things to go to. Getting to know more the people so for me, it was a district of 260,000. Geographically a lot different, socioeconomically very varied. There's a lot of different people, different cultures of people that you get to meet over the course of a year when you're running a race like that maybe you didn't have quite as good an appreciation for, you didn't know as well,
right?
Or even just parts of the district that I had not ventured into often, and great restaurants that I found and new friends that I made there.
Yeah.
And it really gives you an appreciation for where you live and the fabric of your community.
Yeah. Was COVID an issue for you?
Well, COVID was an issue for everyone.
I mean, yes, during this, did you find that?
As far as the election process?
Well, the election process and even getting out and meeting people and so forth, or were you more on the tail end of it?
No, by that point, we were on the tail end of it.
Yeah.
It was definitely, as a CRNA business owner, it was definitely impactful for
Right.
us. I mean,
Right.
A lot of the work that we did was in surgery centers, and those
Right.
are all the places that just got shuttered. But it did create a unique opportunity for us because we had all of these healthcare providers who were excellent advanced practice nurses, many of them, the ones that work in New Jersey are licensed that way. And problems came up that needed solutions that weren't being solved anywhere else. So it was a great opportunity to be able to step up as a company and really get out there and start being problem solvers. So there were COVID vaccination programs. They needed staff for. I don't know if you remember that rollout when it first came from the federal government. It was, I think, 7 large pharmacies.
Yes.
But they actually had to get the vaccinations from the pharmacies into the patients.
Right.
And that required healthcare providers. So we were able to help with that. We were able to step up and provide staffing in some of the ICUs in the area, which imagine a small community hospital. We know what that ICU looks like routinely on a after hours or on a weekend. It's quiet.
Yep.
Attendings are managing the care from home, and now imagine it during COVID. So it was never staffed to be able to handle critically ill patients at the levels that we were seeing around the clock for such a prolonged period of time. And a lot of the CRNAs that came to work with us from all over the country did yeoman's work for long, long hours and took great care of people. I'm really proud of that.
Let me ask you, do you just have to file? It's not one of the states where you've got to get signatures to be put on the ballot, is it? It is? We do not in North Carolina. All you have to do is file.
Oh, that
I
sounds
know,
so
isn't
nice.
it amazing?
Although normally you get 3 weeks because there were so many challenges going on.
Sure.
With the redistricting process. The census came out in 2020 and then they were redrawing the districts. It got pushed back so long they cut it down to 10 days.
To get, how many signatures do you have to get?
You need 500, which means you need 1,000.
Right.
Because you want to be safe. Somebody's going to challenge some of them, which is really 9 days because that 10th day you're driving them to Harrisburg because you're not going to mail them. You're not going to hand them to somebody. I personally put them in the person's hand. And so 9 days to get 1,000 signatures.
So how did you handle that? Just hang out at the Walmart?
I knocked on a lot of doors, but I also had a lot of help.
Yeah.
So all these people that ultimately I got to know so much better over the year through running the campaign that I didn't know as well locally because I hadn't been involved with the party locally. They came out before they even got to know me, well anyway, to the point that they do now and really stepped up and helped out. And I think we turned in, we had over 1,000, but I didn't, one of the sheets was the wrong sheet, so I didn't bother submitting it. So I think I turned in like 990.
It's a lot easier in North Carolina. You just show up, get your picture made, and pay I think it's like $250 or something to file.
Yeah, I think ours is $150.
Right.
Yeah.
Matt, as a business owner, were there things that you saw in the CRNA community as a business owner that maybe guided you to kind of want to do this as well?
Well, certainly when you look at motivations to run, there's a lot of them. One of them is CRNA-related issues, right? I've been a part of PANA for years and the ANA for years, and I'm a big PAC guy, and definitely advocacy is something I support. Not just financially, but with my words and actions.
Right.
As business owners, we are striving to offer our customers whatever it is that they need. For some people, that might be anesthesiologist in every room or an anesthesiologist covering 4 rooms. For a smaller center that's trying to handle the financial aspect of being in business nowadays, as it's gotten harder and harder and inflation's gotten worse and worse, it might be looking at solutions that are CRNA centric.
Right.
We just want to be able to give our clients the opportunity to select the business model that works best for them.
Today's show is brought to you by the folks at CRNA Financial Planning, an independent consulting firm that offers financial planning services exclusively to CRNAs and their families. From planning for a child's future college expenses to building a predictable income stream in retirement, the firm is committed to offering you comprehensive financial services, customized to fit your unique needs and objectives. If you have questions about your financial future, get them answered. Call the team at 855-304-3748. That's 855-304-3748. Or go online to crnafinancialplanning.com.
All right, let's go back. I want to know, what was your district like that you were running in?
As far as the breakdown of
R&D, and you told me it was originally a D+1.
Yeah, so when I decided to run, it was just prior to the final maps being redrawn, and it was D1, D2, so slightly Democratic, and it went from that to about a D14.
Okay, explain to our listeners what that means. I ran in an R+13 district, and I ran as an R.
Jealous.
I know, you should be.
Super jealous.
Still lost, but it was an easier district to run.
So what does that mean? I think typically when people talk about gerrymandering, they infer that it's the Republican Party that does the gerrymandering.
Well, we learned from the Democrats how to do it.
It definitely goes both ways.
It does.
I hope somebody appreciated the Republican votes they picked up from my district that I lost. I know who it is. I'm not going to say his name. But it certainly became more advantageous for the incumbent state senator who had a hand in shaping what that would look like.
Well, what I mean by D1, D2, what they do is they look at your district, and if it went Democratic, how Democratic did it go based on the presidential election. So that's how you get it. So Trump, let's say Trump won my county, and he won it by 13 points. So I'm an R+13. So
gotcha.
Did I explain that?
You did
correctly. So you need, before you go out to run, it's kind of smart to know what your district looks like, and so you'll know what the odds are if you've got a base there. So Matt was running against an incumbent, correct?
Correct.
And you were running as a Republican.
Correct.
And so at a D+1, you would think he had a good chance, but then the redraw, you were in a D+14.
Wow.
So the odds were stacked against him right there.
But that's okay.
It is good. I mean, you could still, people win all the time when the odds are against them. But let's talk about your campaign a little bit.
We had a great message which resonated with a lot of our voters, regardless of party affiliation. We were going against an incumbent who's been in Harrisburg first as a state rep and then a state senator for 12 years, I believe, and who had never actually passed a bill that he had written.
Oh, my.
And that
was easy.
One of our talking points was 0 for 94 of bills that he sponsored. And when I say, sometimes they sign on to somebody else's bill and it gets passed, that's not the same as being the prime sponsor on a bill. 0 for 94 over 12 years as a prime sponsor. Which, the detractors of that would say that, it's Republicans' control. But what it really shows you is a lack of an ability to sit down and compromise. We all know there's problems.
Right.
The left's not fully right. The right's not fully correct either. Let's meet somewhere in the middle and at least propose a solution.
Right.
And when you can propose solutions that other people can buy into, it really speaks to your ineffectiveness as a legislator. So for me, that was one of the main reasons I decided to go for that seat and to go against that state senator.
Wow.
So tell us about your campaign. And what was your most favorite thing to do, and what was the thing that
it definitely wasn't getting up in front of a room full of people with a microphone?
You didn't love that?
No, for those that know me, my wife in particular, she would always say it's going to be okay. There's always an anxiety.
Oh, absolutely.
Even for things like this, when you're putting a microphone on to go and speak, and it gets better as you get going. But that warm up phase, it's kind of like running a marathon, right? That first mile really hurts, and then by the time you get going, you're on cruise control, and it's okay.
Is that how it feels? I don't know.
And I kind of exaggerated.
Sure.
I meant 5K.
Okay, good.
Yeah, there you go. There you
truly
go.
more my speed. And so my favorite part was, it was definitely knocking on doors. It was just talking
That's
to
funny.
regular
That's what
people.
you said too.
Yeah, it is.
Isn't that really? That's interesting
at
to me.
the end of the day, it reminds you why you're doing. It's very hard because you're walking in sometimes in the snow and the rain and the really hot days, and you're sweating. Sometimes somebody will slam a door in your face. Occasionally they'll call you a name, but just as often, the nice lady that lives there will open up the window on the second floor of her house, pop her head out, and say, "The door's open. Just come on in, honey."
Yeah.
And
Or what happened to me, this lady comes out, you could smell she was cooking. And she said, "Oh, I make all the desserts for my daughter's restaurant. Do you want some? Come on in the house and we'll give you some dessert." We could start talking, and I'm asking her about herself, and she said, "Oh, I teach English to English speaking people." She keeps going on. Finally, I keep looking at her, and I said, "Well, where did you teach?" She said, "Davis Townsend." I said, "Are you Miss Ford?" And she goes, "Yes." I go, "Well, I'm Sharon Phillips." She goes, "Oh my God, I knew you were going to be something one day." She taught me in the 3rd grade.
Isn't that
but you were
funny?
already something prior to that.
That's right. Wow.
It was pretty cool.
Huh.
Of course, then we saw my daughters were door knocking with me, and we went to the door of my 6th grade teacher, and I think he has a little dementia, and he come out with his boxers on, and the front of them were hanging up.
Oh, lovely.
As long as he votes for you.
That's right.
That's right.
important.
There you
Just
go.
remember my name.
But the campaign was it was a great experience. There's certainly, and I think I said to you earlier, growing up with red hair, you develop a thick skin at a young age. So the usual political stuff happens, as it does on everyone's campaign nowadays, because politics are as partisan as they are. It's easy enough to let it roll off my back. I guess also being used to having surgeons working with you every day, and we're used to dealing with unique personalities.
Yes.
So you just kind of let that water run under that bridge, and just keep working at it, talking to people, both parties, independents, meeting as many people as you possibly can. And
How many independents did you have in your district? Because it's the fastest growing party.
19, 18%.
Really?
Yeah.
That's all? I know. It's in North Carolina now. They're 30%, over 30%,
Oh, really?
and the fastest growing. Yes. So that will leave some room.
It's interesting, though, that
open.
it's so difficult. I actually just had this conversation with my son the other day. He said, "Why didn't you run as this, or why didn't you run as that?" And I'm a fairly moderate Republican, whatever
Same.
label you want to attach to that
Right.
and things. I always told him, there's 10% of people on the left that are really, really loud, and they're the
Yes.
extreme ones. And there's 10% of people on the right that are really, really loud, and they're extreme that way. I'm in the 80%, and that's who I want to speak for.
Yeah.
These people have enough mouthpieces. And so he had asked me, well, why didn't you run as an independent or a third-party candidate? And
Right.
It's unfortunate that the process is what it is. It's just not something you're going to have a lot of success at right now, at least not in my area.
Yeah. Well, are there any people that maybe you'd like to thank for their support throughout the process?
I would. Do we have about 2 more hours? It's a very long list.
We'll let it go. Yeah.
Certainly, primarily be my wife and my kids. I mean, it's and from going through the process, it's a rough year to go through. You're not home a lot. Sometimes you're working in the operating room in the morning, and then you're going right from there in your scrubs with a suit in the back of your car to get changed to go to an event. Fortunately, I have short hair. It's really easy to throw some product in and fix it up real quick. Getting home at midnight and getting it up and doing it all over again. So they do a lot without you. And so she really did hold down the fort in that sense. Same for my kids. They would come out to the fundraisers. They were always a constant presence and supportive. And beyond family, there's so many people in the community that I didn't know until I started to do this that I now know and consider friends. I'm sure lifelong friends whose campaigns I'm helping out on now because they believed in me and they worked hard for me. And I'm certainly going to do the same because I feel the same way about them. Jess Poole, certainly, Panna, the large community of CRNAs from around the country who heard about my campaign, who heard that I was running. And even if they weren't located in Pennsylvania, they knew how important it was for CRNAs to have advocacy on the state level.
Yes.
And that's a message they really took to heart. It's a message that's very important to me, and it's one that I'm going to continue to pound as long as I can to recruit more people. I mean, we have such a large community of intelligent, dedicated, caring people in the CRNA world. that would do amazing things towards getting rid of partisanship, or at least ratcheting it down a few notches, and actually sitting at the table and coming up with solutions.
Exactly. So what would you say to CRNAs who may be listening to this and they're thinking, I might run? What would you say to them?
Well, I'm going to interject for just a minute because, Sharon, you actually did your talk earlier today, and as I was walking through the outside out there, I was going to sit out there in the rocking chair, and I heard a conversation going on, and it was a group of CRNAs, and they said, every time I hear this political stuff, I just shut down. And, I hear that from so many CRNAs. And I think that, more than anything, I think that is something that we need to kind of address.
Right.
Because, what does that mean? And how do we get that group to say, maybe I don't want to run for office. Maybe I don't like politics, but how do you get the importance of some way being supportive to CRNAs who are running or CRNAs who want to run? How do you get that across?
Well, I think the first thing that needs to be fixed is the lack of advocacy at a higher percent of the population of CRNAs. I'm sure you're aware of what the yearly voting totals look like. I'm always disappointed when I see Pennsylvania has 8% of the CRNAs vote for our new ANA leadership. That's not going to be a successful way to move forward as a profession. We need more people to, even if they don't want to run for politics, if they don't want to pay attention to the politics, at least support the organization that's out there doing the work for you, and support the candidates that are out there doing the work for you. We're going up against a behemoth. We know that the ASA is the number one funded medical lobbying group in the country. I think the ANA is 8th or 7th.
It's the largest nursing PAC in the country.
Largest nursing PAC, but as far as the other healthcare professionals, we're still a bit dwarfed by them, and so we're going up against a big gun.
Yeah.
Translates to the state level as well. So here in Pennsylvania, last year we had an AA bill, an anesthesia assistant bill, come through. So they're, not liking the politics and not wanting to pay attention. It's akin to having your head in the sand. And hoping that everything works out. And if you don't take an active role, again, if you don't have a seat at the table, you're on the menu.
Well, I've always said, the ASA and anesthesiologists have done a great job in marketing to their constituents because they have done a wonderful job. Anytime anything comes up, I see some of the emails and stuff from the ASA, and basically the nurses are attacking our way of life. They're going to take away your income. You went to medical school, you came out with $500,000 in debt, and now these nurses are going to take your job. And they really equated it back to the individual on a emotional, financial level. And I've always said, and I still continue to say this, is that CRNAs have not done that to this point, and they haven't gotten it across to their constituents that what is going on at the ASA level could affect them in their personal level. I think CRNAs, and this is just Jeremy talking, and hopefully I don't get any hate email, but I think CRNAs have had it good for a while now. Income's good, quality of work is good, quality of life is good, and they really haven't been challenged in that environment. And I think that in order to get them, it would become a little bit apathetic. I know you don't agree with me. When I say apathetic, I just mean everything is good. When everything is good, people tend to get a little more. But
CRNAs, whenever the rubber meets the road, I guarantee they're there. And you had AA legislation in this state. They come out for that. So it's not a constant something that's motivating them. We'll just have little blips, but at least we've got blips.
But I think you still got to, somehow you've got to get that emotional attachment to the CRNA population. I don't know how you do it. It's not my forte, but I know that when bills come out in my industry and they say, the Senate has taken up a bill that's attacking independent contractor status for financial advisors in this country, send money or, basically could take away the way we run our business across the country. And there's a lot more of us than there are CRNAs. But, that gets us going, wow, think about that. Gosh, if I couldn't do that, now I've got to become a W-2 employee. What happens to my employees? Whole business model changes. Gosh, this is pretty important. It could affect my whole way of life.
Mm-hmm.
So what do? I start to send letters and I
Right.
send them money
Sure.
because they're working on my behalf because but I don't know that we're getting that message.
I think it's because our background is we're nurses.
We don't prioritize ourselves
No, absolutely not.
over other people. We put ourselves secondary.
Yeah.
And it's an uncomfortable conversation to have because it feels like a scare tactic.
Yeah.
But the people that are informed on the legislation that's coming through know that it's not really just a scare tactic. I mean,
Well,
it could fundamentally change how your
This is
profession is run.
This is kind of a sidebar, but we're talking about going up on dues for the AANA. CRNAs are going to lose their minds. Some of them are going to. And yet, Jeremy, what's your dues for your association? $1,500 a year, right? We've had this discussion.
I mean, it's yeah.
Yeah, it's $1,500 a year. And CRNAs for the AANA, it's $650 a year. Isn't that right? Or $645?
Is it a year? Every year?
It's
Every 2 years?
yes, I believe it is.
I think I have it set up to auto deduct, so I haven't paid attention in a couple of years.
Yes. And they just want to stair step for 3 years and go up by $65 a year for 3 years to get us up. So look at that. That's still less than what your
I wonder
dues are.
what the
$1,500.
ASA's dues are. I wonder what
I don't
it's
know.
gonna be interesting to know
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I would think $600 a year, and part of that goes to the state, right?
Yeah.
If I remember right,
$200
yeah, $200 of that goes.
$230, $250 goes to the
So,
state.
Um,
So anyway, we
Yeah.
digress.
yeah,
All right, let's fast forward. Everybody knows the ending to the story. You were unsuccessful. It hurts to lose. Yeah.
A little bit.
But I always say losing doesn't stick. Nobody remembers the loser. Who did I run against for AANA president? Nobody
idea.
knows because you forget those people. So we're forgettable, Matt. But how has your family held up through this grueling process? And it is indeed grueling, but rewarding. So how are you doing with this, and how is your family doing with this?
Well, I'm perfectly fine and happy, and I'm back to giving some anesthesia again, which is always fun. But I also found a new balance. I'm no longer doing 40 hours a week in the operating room. I'm more engaged locally. My wife and I have started this new tradition where we go and have lunch with our Rotary group on Wednesday that we're a part of.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like a fun Wednesday date afternoon with a great group of people who do wonderful things in the community. It's just a nice, positive feeling that you get from leaving a group of people like that. So just kind of refocus and reprioritize, and working all the time is not as important. Taking care of my family, being available in my community, volunteering whatever I can to PANA. Happy to and answer questions for other CRNAs or other nurses that are considering getting into politics and where to start. And I definitely encourage anyone who's listening to this, if you don't know where to start, I'm happy to help and answer any question I can. You can reach out to me through Facebook's probably the easiest way.
Well, as we kind of wrap this up, Matt, anything you want to conclude on, maybe get across to our listeners? And
Yeah, I mean, just probably advocacy. It's where we started the conversation. It's probably where we should finish the conversation. Whether you're paying your dues to your state or national association, or you're a recurring donor to the PAC, which is an amazing feeling when you get whatever that gift is every year that they send out. You're really investing in your career. It's professional insurance, as it were. And get involved. Get involved in your state association, your national association, your community, whatever level, whatever interests you to give back in, whether it's a profession or in your community. Do it. It's a rewarding feeling. And we need more people doing it, especially CRNAs.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, Matt, thank you. Thank you for being
Thank you.
here,
Great to be
sharing
here.
your story with us, and we wish you luck in the future. Maybe we'll see you running again, and hopefully your wife will win her election as well, and you're learning more and growing. But, maybe both of you jump back in the ring. You'll be the first two CRNAs to win as well. So, right, Sharon?
Well, We've got 2 CRNAs in
We do in
South Dakota.
South Dakota.
Oh, that's right. It
Yeah.
is South Dakota. That's right.
Yeah.
Well, 2 CRNAs outside of South
we
Dakota.
have-
How
Right.
about that? Yeah,
Right.
And we
there
also
go.
have as a county position, a coroner.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Jen Bannock.
Jim Bannock. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
she
right.
sure is.
That's right.
But, I mean, how long is your session here in Pennsylvania? Do y'all have session limits?
It's a full-time legislature,
Yeah,
but
and y'all get
it's-
full-time pay, kind of, sort of. North Carolina is supposedly a citizen legislature, and they make $13,900 a year.
I think ours are around $96,000 a year.
Okay. Well, big difference, huh?
It is a big difference. And North Carolina, their sessions could be 11 months long.
Wow.
Yes. But in South Dakota, they have 60-day session limits. So they get in, get their work done,
Wow.
and get
nice.
out.
They're pretty efficient out
it
there,
truly
South
is.
Dakota.
Now they can call them in for a special session, of course, but
Yeah.
I mean, you've got to realize they're largely rural.
You know, we're a little slower in the South. It
Yes.
takes us 11 months to get done what they can do
Yeah,
60 days in South
there you
Dakota,
go.
Sharon, you know?
I know.
All right. Well, we want to thank our listeners for listening to Beyond the Mask with Jeremy Stanley and
Sharon Pierce.
Sharon. If they like our show, what can they do?
Well, the best thing they can do for us is to like us, leave us a review, but make it
Positive. We know there's way too much negativity in this world.
there is. Tell your friends. We grow by word of mouth.
You know, we're the #1 podcast in the CRNA community, and we're in the top 50 medical podcasts consistently in the country. And, you know, we want to be #1, bringing CRNA stories and advocacy to the population.
There you go. I
Until
think
next time.
it's a wrap.
Attention all certified nurse anesthetists. Are you in need of a reliable and quality continuing education option? Well, look no further than CRNAeducation.com. We are an NBCRNA recognized provider, offering all 4 core CPC modules to meet your certification requirements. You can choose from more than 100 AANA prior approved Class A CE credits, with 43 articles covering a wide range of anesthesia topics. Need pharmacology CE credits? Well, we've got you covered there as well, with over 40 pharmacology CE credits available. All credits are completed online and are mobile friendly. Choose articles worth 1, 2, or 3 credits. There's no subscriptions, no hidden fees, just the CE credits you need when you need them. Owned by CRNAs since 2011, you can trust in our commitment to your education. And customer service is always a quick email or phone call or even text away. To sign up and find out more about our education options, visit CRNAeducation.com, your partner in continuing education. That's CRNAeducation.com. Beyond the Mask is made possible by the team at CRNA Financial Planning. With almost 2 decades of experience, the firm guides CRNAs through the complexities of investing and financial planning. Schedule a free consultation today by calling 855-304-3748 or go online to crnafinancialplanning.com.
Hi, this is Jackie Rolls, President of the International Federation of Nurse Anesthetists and President and founder of Our Hearts, Your Hands, a global anesthesia support community that takes donations to allow nurse anesthetists in low and middle income countries to go to educational programs, buy equipment, or textbooks. Your donations are tax deductible, and we would appreciate your support.
Be sure to subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and anywhere you like to listen to shows. Also be sure to check out BeyondTheMaskPodcast.com. Each episode is posted there with a corresponding blog post, and we timestamp important parts of the episode to help you quickly get to the content you're looking for. Also check out the special series section on the site. You can follow along and catch up on the CRNA History Series, episodes specifically about political conversations in the industry. Or try the CRNA Personal Finance Series. It's all on BeyondTheMaskPodcast.com. And if you have a question for the show or want to be a guest, or even suggest a particular topic. Fill out the contact form on the site or send an email directly to us at info@beyondthemaskpodcast.com. And lastly, let's take the conversation social. Check out our Beyond the Mask podcast Facebook page and Facebook group.